Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Just to give you a warning before we do get into today's first story, this is a compilation style video and we're focusing on entitled people, entitled parents, just pure entitlement in this one. But as I know, some of you are not interested in the compilation videos, so just giving you that warning up front. Thank you so much, and much love to you. Now today's first story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from Defiant Function 8397, and it says, Am I the Arsehole Here for refusing a wedding gift, knowing there will be strings attached? This story starts. My fiance, 32 male, and I, 31 female, got engaged on Christmas Eve. Until recently I had a great relationship with his family, his mum especially. But ever since the engagement it's become really strained because she keeps trying to insert herself into our decisions and offering unsolicited advice, and I'm slowly getting at my wit's end. A few things that have annoyed me. We want a max of around 50 people. My fiance and I are both introverts, and even the thought of being in front of that many people gives me anxiety. With our close family, friends, and their plus ones, we're probably already over 50. His mother insists the wedding must be a grand event with at least 150 guests. Hell no. I found a gown in a magazine I love, and it's going to be my inspiration. It's more on the simple side, but that's my style. I showed my best friend, my mum, and my future mother-in-law because I did want her to feel included, and she insisted it was too plain and everyone will think I'm just another guest at my wedding, being the only one in white. The venue we're thinking about is too small and boring. The on-site catering is not special enough, and because my fiance is an only child, this needs to be a grand affair, and we need to get a guest list to her so she can review and approve who's coming. No. This is our wedding, not yours. Thankfully, my fiance is on my side and about 6 weeks ago called her and said we know what kind of wedding we want to have and she needs to stop overstepping and questioning our choices. In an attempt to punish him and assert her authority, she went radio silent until last week. She invited us to dinner on Sunday and presented us with a check for $25,000 to help with the wedding. When we got home, I told my fiance we are not cashing the check. He thinks I'm being ridiculous and this can help us have the wedding we want with almost no out-of-pocket costs. I told him we won't have the wedding we want because she's going to use the money as leverage to push the event in the direction she wants. When she insists on including her friends we don't know and don't care about, she's going to say, oh, I thought the money would help cover them. When we go dress shopping it'll be, that's a bit simple, I thought with the extra money you could get something nicer. When we finally choose our venue it'll be, so what exactly is the money paying for? My fiance said it will cause a huge rift if we don't accept the money because his mother is extending an olive branch and being generous. But I tried telling him it'll cause a bigger rift if she gets in her mind that she has a say in our choices because she's paying for it, and I shut her down every time. I feel like I'm being positioned as a bridezilla. My fiance thinks I'm overreacting and it's the tension of the last few months exposing itself. Even my mother said I should just accept the gift. So am I the arsehole here? Let's face it, OP is 100% right here. The 25k isn't an olive branch, it's a foothold. Every decision will come with, well, I'm paying for it, comment attached. And initially you said your fiance's on your side, but then he seemed to slip and he's wavering when it actually matters. And I wouldn't blame you at all for not accepting that check, but there's a little part of me as well that's going, that is a lot of money and can give you a real good boost in life if you can find a way around this, just be absolutely explicit with your boundaries or something along those lines. I know it's risky, but I'm thinking this could be a good boost. But Kipster Dude says not the arsehole, but if you want to give her the benefit of the doubt, keep the check and see whether or not she tries to insert herself into your wedding plans. Once she does, be prepared to return the check. Opie says that's actually a fantastic idea. Space Cowboy says, okay, so let me just say 25k can be a huge help for the down payment on the house or straight up buy a brand new car. You can just blow her and her opinions off and think, you're helping me pay for my house and you don't know it. I'm just saying, unless the two of you are wealthy, 25k can go a long ways. Opie says, I'm a social worker. My partner is a teacher. It will definitely go a long way. I just feel like she's being manipulative and I'm allowing it. Lady Fish Breath says, take the money. Just because she gifted you the cash doesn't mean she suddenly has the right to dictate your wedding. Hell, you can use it for whatever you want. Pay for a house, buy a new car, you don't have to use it for the wedding. It's a gift after all, and she can't control what you do with it. If she does end up causing trouble, let your fiancé deal with it. OP quoted, just because she gifted you cash doesn't mean she suddenly has the right to dictate your wedding, and says, my brain 100% knows this, but it's also telling me that after my fiancé called her out on her behavior, she decided this was the only way left to insert herself. I just know it's a trap, and I hate her thinking she's won. And then I feel like I'm the asshole because I'm so bitter about her, I won't give her the benefit of the doubt. A commenter says, how much do you like your mother-in-law? Is there a middle ground somewhere? She just handed you so much money, and you are free to do whatever you want with it. I'd probably use it on a down payment for a house, but I'd probably also use it to upscale my wedding a little bit to make mother-in-law feel happy and include it in her only child's wedding. It's your wedding and the two of you get all the final say, so maybe consider making your special day as special as you want it on her dime. Opie says, I know it's such a cliche to have a shitty mother-in-law, but throughout the relationship, it felt like I was graced with a second mother. I think at her core, she's a kind person, but the engagement flipped the switch and it's like dealing with a completely different person. I'd love for things to go back to normal, and I know she's probably had visions of her son's wedding and is just excited about it, but she needs to stay in her lane and just doesn't even understand the concept of a lane. But even if things do get better, what switch gets flipped when I get pregnant? Professional says you could just ask whether there are any conditions attached. Make sure that you are both present when you ask her. OP replies saying this is actually a good idea. And when she says no, confirm that means no suggestions, no feedback, just acceptance. If my fiancé is there, she can't exactly react with, well, maybe I can suggest this or that, or, but it would be good if I could help out more. Because she'd basically exposed the whole thing as manipulation in front of her son. A commenter says, not the arsehole. A gift does not give somebody the right to decide. That only works with politicians. Take the money and continue like you used to. Be sure to tell the venue and everyone else that only you guys can decide or change things, and no third person. Otherwise, she might change things behind your back. Opie says the money feels too dirty, and we don't want her to even be able to say she helped out with the wedding. The more and more I hear about the situation, I'm kind of changing my mind on the money thing, just like not accepting it at all. I know they could get hate, but I just got a feeling. I got a feeling. My bloody spider senses are tingling. So Opie came back in after 19 days and said, hi everyone, I posted here a couple of weeks ago and got some wonderful advice. A few people asked for an update and I thought I'd let you know what happened. It's not good. If you didn't see my original post, my future mother-in-law offered us $25,000 towards our wedding, but I knew there would be strings attached to make the event her way. I thought maybe I was the arsehole for overreacting or seeing something that wasn't there. You all told me I was 100% correct. So I decided to have a heart-to-heart with my future mother-in-law, with my fiancé attending too. I told her that I miss the relationship we used to have, but it's become strained because I feel she has not respected the choices we have made for our wedding. We explained that we weren't depositing the check until we have this conversation and we're all on board about how we move forward. I know we didn't need to provide a rationale, we just required acceptance, but I thought it would help her understand. The wedding size. I reminded her that my fiancé and I are introverts. We would be maxed out emotionally and mentally with 50 people, and quite frankly, we only want the people who have been part of our lives to be there to celebrate with us. There's no need for childhood neighbors to attend. There's no need for distant cousins we haven't seen in 15 years to attend, just the people who have been with us on our journey. The wedding gown. This is non-negotiable. A bride chooses her gown and I'll be choosing one that I can be comfortable being in. This is the first time I'll be wearing a dress since prom. Reflects my personal style and makes me feel beautiful, not anyone else's personal style. The venue. Okay, this is a bit cringe, but my fiancé and I met at a speed dating event a restaurant was running 4 years ago. We hit it off and here we are. Our absolute first choice for the reception venue was this place. Their event space will fit 50 max. We thanked her for a generous $25,000, but we would give it back if our decisions aren't respected. We asked if she has any expectations around any decision making that comes with a gift. My future mother-in-law cried and apologized and told us she just wanted everything to be perfect, and she's sad that she never had a daughter who she can play a normal motherly role in wedding planning. As she was so scared I'd leave her out of everything, which I never did. I wanted her to feel included. So there you go. We had a resolution. We deposited the check and started to move from the spitballing ideas to confirming vendor's face. When I called the restaurant we wanted for the reception, their private function room was unfortunately booked out for our very specific date that we can't change, which was really sad, also a bit sus, so we decided to start looking at other options. A few days later, I get a call from a wedding planner who proceeds to tell me that my future mother-in-law hired her to help with the wedding. What the fuck? I called my future mother-in-law and she explained that my fiance mentioned we lost our preferred venue and wanted to take some of the pressure off my shoulders and hired a wedding planner. She insisted the planner was just to do all the background admin tasks. Okay. I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure why a wedding planner is needed for a small wedding or why they'd even bother taking the job, but if my future mother-in-law wants to spend her money on making things a little easier for me, that's fine. I met with the planner twice, described our vision for the wedding, and she said she'd put together some bookings to view venues, taste cakes, etc. Here's where the shit hits the fan. The planner sent us a list of venues she booked for us to see. We had a look online and all the venues are large, like designed for 200 guests. We're confused and we went to the first appointment yesterday. My fiance joked that 50 people won't need this much dance room. The planner looked confused and explained that future mother-in-law contacted her last week to explain that we were considering expanding the wedding and would need a bigger space than originally planned. We got home and I called my mum and cried to her that this is all too damn much and we're now considering eloping. My mum's spidey senses tingled. Oh, mine too. And she called the original restaurant we wanted and was like, I'm calling about an event my sister is planning. And she's so forgetful, I just want to confirm she's booked the private function room. It's for dates and my sister's name is mother-in-law's name. You guys, this bitch booked the fucking venue out from under us. She booked it and paid a deposit to secure it so we couldn't have it. I can only imagine she did this to slowly convince us to book a larger venue and host a larger reception. My fiance called her and tore her a new one. He told her she's no longer involved in any aspect of planning. We will not be working with a planner. All vendors will be password protected, and she's lucky she's even still invited, but will only be attending as a guest. No speech, no mother-son dance. He also told her that if she interferes at all again, she won't even be allowed as a guest. We transferred the money back to her account. I told him I'm going no contact. I don't really want her there, but I will be polite on our wedding day because I don't want drama. But then I'm back to no contact for good. He's 100% backing me up. A commenter said, wow, that's some escalation. I'm glad your fiance handled his mother. The real question is, did you get the restaurant you wanted originally? I'm sure you've already figured this out, but you need to invite one person whose sole job that day is babysitting her. It can be someone you're close to that you trust. My cousin asked my mum to do this with his mother, his former sister-in-law, because he was so worried that she'd get drunk and make a scene. Opie says unless she releases the booking, it won't be an option. I doubt she'd extend the olive branch to do so. I don't know if the restaurant would listen, but I would literally phone them up and tell them the actual situation that's going on, because she's very unlikely to be hosting there anyway, and she's very likely to cancel closer to the date, right? Or I'll tell her you're going to cancel your booking or you're not coming to the bloody wedding at all. I mean, I don't think she should be there anyway. Acceptable site reply saying, I know you said she is invited as a guest, but it should be to the ceremony only. If she doesn't release the booking for the reception and you have to find a new place, well, she's apparently already got plans for the date and time, so she can't make it to the reception. You're just making it easier for her to schedule by not making her come to the reception. What was her reaction to her son telling her off and demoting her to guest only? Opie says I'm actually liking this idea and I'll mention it to my fiance. She wouldn't do anything to interrupt the ceremony. She's very religious and church is sacred, but she could definitely do something to derail the reception. She apparently cried when she was demoted. I asked my fiance if it was the same tears she cried when she promised she wouldn't interfere. Necessary says, wow, she's insane. Booking it behind your back is psycho. Opie says I kind of wish I didn't find that out. That felt like the twisting of the knife, but it was also the thing that really opened my eyes. Hipster says, this was so much worse than I was expecting. I really wanted to give your mother-in-law the benefit of the doubt. Opie says, honestly, I understand why people warn me that wedding planning brings out the worst in people. I really loved and respected this woman and always thought she'd make a wonderful grandmother to any future children. Now she will never know them. Maybe I'll be more forgiving in the future, but I am livid right now. Commenter says, wow, your mother-in-law is a duplicitous piece of work. What a calculating, sneaky cow. She is playing a long game. All power to your Mars spidey senses. That is a very useful power to have. Opie says she tried playing a long game and lost very quickly. And one more comment who says, I would love to hear how mother-in-law justified this to her son when he ripped her a new one. Opie says he just told me she just kept saying she wanted the best for us and have the perfect wedding. That shortly became her admitting that she thought our choices and my taste was shitty and she needed to save us the embarrassment. Talk about digging your hole deeper. I can't really see a good thing with her still being in your lives right now or still attending the wedding. I know cutting off is a very simple thing to say and it's very hard in reality. But the control aspects of this that she's trying to implement on you guys, and with the money and everything else going behind your back, booking venues on your wedding day, not listening to your wants and needs, and your partner wanting her at the wedding. I don't know. I just find that incredibly worrying. And then what happens, if you do have children, she's definitely going to want to be a part of that at some point. Oh, dearie me. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from the Entitled People subreddit from Ballet Korg, who says, friend asked to use my home for a child's birthday party and then uninvited me. Ooh, cheeky bloody so-and-sos. Friend wanted to celebrate their child's birthday in my party room because it's a special number they are turning. I asked why she can't use her own home and said it's because mine is kid-friendly. I told her I'd prefer if she had the party elsewhere, like a community center or public event spaces. She came back to me a few weeks later saying they were too expensive or far away, and then asked again if she can use my place for the party. By booking our space, she'd be saving hundreds of dollars on the venue. I agreed with a caveat that we'd keep it to a maximum number of people. We keep to the booking time and she has to get her own guests from the lobby. It was important to clarify this to her because my partner and I had hosted a huge party for her a year prior, which had way more people invited, and we found ourselves not enjoying ourselves the whole time, as we had to monitor the guests and retrieve people from the lobby throughout the event because many guests came later than the started start time on the invitations. We also didn't enjoy attending the party because we were busy setting up, coordinating the games, monitoring the guests, and cleaning the room after. 2 weeks before her child's birthday party, she tells me she wants to change the party time to an hour later due to her child's change in nap times. She also went over my max number of guests because she'd already invited people before I'd agreed, and it would be too awkward to disinvite them as well, and all the grandparents had to come too. I told her I will not be cancelling the booking and if we can keep to the original time. She eventually told me to cancel the party because I seemed too stressed out. Mind you, I was willing to work with her, but she was unwilling to compromise. She also did not offer to compensate for my time and efforts, only offering to pay for the cost of the room booking and my strata charges for the room, which was also the case for the previous big party that we hosted for her. I found out through social media that she still had a birthday party for her child, but neither my partner or I were invited. We feel hurt because it seems she only wanted us there if we could provide the venue and coordinate the event. I also have to mention that we live in a luxury condo with a lot of amenities near the center. We also feel she took advantage of our living situation and has been treating our home like a community center for her to impress all her friends with. We do not feel like guests that can enjoy these parties because there's so much liability and work to do when these parties are held in our home. She's also asked me earlier this year if she could use one of my party rooms for a birthday party, which she eventually decided not to do because she didn't want to clean up at the end of the night. Edit. Thanks for all the advice. I appreciate the insight from other people. I really should have said no after the first party, but it's hard for me to say no sometimes to long-term friends, which is something I'm trying to work on. I've debated on whether I should post my experience here and how I should proceed with this friendship moving forward, but the resounding opinion is pretty clear. It's one of those situations where this isn't a friend, because let's think about the way that she sees you. She didn't uninvite you because of your scheduling or stress. She uninvited you, and I know this is going to sound bloody brutal. I don't mean to be horrible, but it's because you stopped being useful. You stopped being necessary. And, it stings to hear that. And of course, you're right to feel hurt about it at the same time. But think about the pattern that's going on here. She's pushing past your boundaries, the guest count and the timings, expects you to host, manage, and clean, doesn't compensate you properly, and then drops you the second you don't cooperate. She's taking the piss. That's not a friend. That's someone who's treating you like a free venue and an event planner at the same time. And I think the social media party thing just actually proves it. She was always going to have the party. You were just plan A because you made it easy and impressive for her. And I would simply leave this one as the trash took itself out and just go with that. Because if you stay friends with someone like this, expect more of the same. The commenter says to OP, I seriously hope you never let these people throw a party in your home again. You should take some time to reevaluate your friendship with this person. The fact that you weren't even invited to the party after everything that you did for her just shows that she doesn't value you. Opie says it has made me reevaluate our friendship. I've been very upset about this since finding out on Instagram. We've been friends for almost a decade, went through college together, had vacations, housewarmings, wedding dress shopping, shared same jobs, been there to visit her the day she gave birth at the hospital. There were a lot of difficult times for my friend that I supported her through leading up to her asking for these big favors of hosting her parties, so I felt like a bad friend if I said no. After knowing about these troubles, but in hindsight I feel very used. I do not feel appreciated as a friend. I will downgrade her to an acquaintance or just a co-worker. We've also given over $600 for a child in the last year as cash gifts due to these milestone celebrations, on top of hosting, so it seems more of a slap in the face that we weren't invited. After the first big party we hosted for her, she and her husband said they were so grateful that they would treat us to dinner as a thank you. It's been over a year and they have never offered to treat us. Even when we go out to eat, they make sure the bill is always split. So there were opportunities to treat us, but they didn't take it. I also had already bought a birthday gift for the child, and now I don't know what to do with it because the return period is over. Opie replies to another commenter saying, "Thank you for your comment. I was flabbergasted when she asked again to use our home for more parties after all of our efforts for the first one, which was 6 hours of work from setup of decorations, food and games to clean up, whereas the actual party only lasted a bit over 2 hours for the guests that could come and go as they please. You would think having a friend host one party would be enough, that you wouldn't ask for the favor again, or at least think the polite thing to do next time would be to offer compensation for the hours of work and stress it takes to host these events. There was also smeared cupcake icing on couches at the end of that party because she wasn't exactly watching the kid she had invited. Also, I never offered my place to host. She asked me to do it each time." To another commenter, Opie says, "When she asked me to use my party room for a kid's party, I did explain to her it was a lot of work last time with the other party and hence why I wanted her to take more active roles this time instead of expecting a lot of labor from us. I did set some boundaries on what I expect from her if she wants to use our space again. The last party, she and her husband did not retrieve their own guests, which took hours of our time since we had to go up and down an elevator and make a bunch of small talk with people we don't know. I told her this. She said she knows and is grateful. She feigned understanding by saying she also hosted a party for her friends years ago, but it was not the same level at all because the party she was talking about had half the number of people, barely any decorations, and minimal food setup." Another commenter says, "Just block her number at this point. She just wants to use the facility. She doesn't give a party favor about you." Opie says she also asked to take her family over to use my pool. I tell her no every time because that does not seem enjoyable for me at all. I'm talking, can I bring my mum over and a child that is not potty trained yet? She's mentioned a couple of times how she doesn't like community center pools. A commenter simply says this person is not your friend, and someone says she most definitely is not your friend. She is a user. Do not let her use you in your party rooms again. Do not worry about hurting her feelings because she doesn't give two shits about yours. If she asks you why you are all of a sudden saying no to using her party rooms, tell her the truth. Because you and your spouse are tired of being used for them, and she didn't want to clean up after her party. Did she expect you to clean up after her parties? Wow. Opie says, "My partner and I are child free, and she has a child that has an early bedtime. Not sure if she was hinting that we do the cleanup on our own after she leaves." Jazzlike says, "Did I read that right? You have a lobby in your home." Opie says it's a condo that we have to retrieve guests from the lobby and take them to the party room via an elevator. Then OP does come in with a final update and says, 3 days after making this post, I messaged this friend to tell her how I felt hurt and used when I saw that she still had a party and did not invite me. I was expecting her to acknowledge my feelings and apologize, but she replied to say she was a little offended to receive my message because she was the one that had to cancel her party at my place so last minute. It was awkward to tell everyone the party could not be on the same date anymore because she could not book her own party room on the same date. Yes, she had her own party room that she can reserve in her own condo this whole time, yet she still wanted mine because it's more kid-friendly. She complained that she had to book on a different day instead. She shared she didn't invite my partner and I because she assumed I was working on the new day to the party. I told her I had the day off. I was livid at this point, so I pointed out how she's been acting entitled since I moved into my current place over a year ago, how she tries to self-invite her and her family over to my place multiple times to use my condo amenities. How I had already hosted her such a big party last year, and several other things I took initiative on when her friends did not step up. I did all this without asking for anything in return, just to be a good friend when she was going through personal hardship at the time. I told her how inconsiderate she has been to be asking all these things from me, on top of trying to get me to host her birthday and a child's birthday party. In contrast, I'd never asked of anything similar for her to do for me myself, and neither has she ever offered. I told her she should feel ashamed to be using her friend like this and to put herself in my shoes for once. I clarified that it was her fault that I had to cancel my party room booking because she did not want to wake her child up from their nap for one day in the year, and that she did not consider the time of the several people she had invited in making this decision. I told her I was surprised that there was no accountability or apology from her end. She sent a short message telling me that she was sorry and didn't realize how much trouble she had caused. She then asked if I could move past this. That was all she said. Out of self-respect, I told her I do not want to be friends anymore. She left me on red. Opie responded to a long and a downvoted comment saying it was not a business. I never offered. She kept asking me to book the room at cost. I was not profiting. The money went to the strata I live in. I literally pocket nothing. If anything, we lose money because she does not time manage well. My partner ended up paying over $50 on helium balloons at a local party store at the last party we hosted for her because she wanted a big decorated display for photos. She'd pay for the cost of the party, food, cutlery, etc., but I was expected to allow her space in my home for her friends and family to come. Most of them I've never met or hardly know. My partner and I had to be present from setup to cleanup and everything in between to coordinate the party because we actually live in a condo and take liability if anything goes wrong because we don't want to risk a fine before strata bylaw infractions or pay for damages that guests have caused. I literally did everything I mentioned because she kept putting me in an awkward position to host her. I initially did them in the past because I wanted to help her and felt bad to saying no because she was confiding in me about her personal hardships. But lately it's been very draining for her to keep expecting me to host her parties. It's hard not to feel used and grow resentment when I see a pattern. Someone says, the fact that she had her own condo and party room this whole time is crazy. Opie says that was part of why I was growing to resent these requests because it felt like she was putting all the burden on hosting a party on me so she can actually enjoy them stress-free. Sunday Funday says, good job speaking up. I'm glad you decided your time and energy is best spent elsewhere, onto bigger and better things in life. Opie says, thank you. I try not to be a confrontational person. It makes me anxious to tell someone how they've been making me feel, but I really had to speak up for myself and cut ties. And one more commenter says, consider this though. If you speak up the first time, someone does something you don't like. You won't waste weeks, months, years on a person who doesn't respect you. Or if they are really friends and oblivious to what they did to upset you, things get straightened out instead of letting things fester until you end the friendship. OP says, one more time, very true. I have to hold firmer boundaries and voice how I feel next time. However, it was a touchy topic if I had brought it up how inconvenient the first party was because I didn't want to make a big day about me, if that makes sense. I don't want to give too much detail on what it was because it is a sensitive topic, and in case she or her friends ever find this post, I would like to respect their privacy on the matter. For example, let's say she asked me to host a celebration of life for a dog at my place, and she had told me several months how hard it was for her to lose him. I've seen her cry over this. She talks about this often when we hang out. Then I would feel like a terrible person to agree to host it, not realizing how much work I was getting myself into, then complain to her afterwards how inconvenient it was for me. I didn't want her to attach that special event to me being upset or feeling taken advantage of. And just in case anyone is as clueless as me, I had a quick look it up, and strata is basically building management or homeowners association for the condo. So like in a lot of apartments or luxury condos, the strata controls shared spaces like party rooms, gyms or pools and charges a fee to book them. And according to this, it also sets rules like guest limits, noise and damages. So if anything goes wrong, the person who booked the room is responsible. But in the end, good on OP, I think. Absolutely the right way to go and just cut that shit off, because I think even though, she did apologize in the end, it would have just went back to the other kind of behavior, I think anyway. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from a forum from the Entitled People subreddit. It says, aunt tries to ruin my wedding. I'm getting married tomorrow, and my aunt just tried to ruin my wedding by creating chaos because what else would she do? This aunt has a long history of accepting invitations to events and then creating some elaborate story days or sometimes hours before to not come. However, she seemed excited enough this time and I thought maybe it was an important enough milestone for me, so she will finally show up. Keep in mind, I've been talking to her about the wedding frequently. She showed me a dress, asked for directions to find the venue, asked me to invite her sons. Originally, only her was invited because I didn't have a strong enough relationship with them, and because we're having a small wedding. We invited her months ago, and until yesterday, I would never have guessed what has transpired in the last 24 hours. My aunt messaged me to ask me to invite her mother, a very ill and fragile lady who's 92 years old. I said yes, and that I needed to check with the venue to accommodate her. Her mum uses a wheelchair, and she travels with a nurse. So it wouldn't be only her, but also the nurse that I had to make room and get food for. I spent hours trying to figure things out with the venue folks. Keep in mind, this is happening in 2 days before the wedding. After that initial message, she then said, No, sorry for asking. It was rude for me to ask you that close to the date. She went silent, didn't answer messages or phone calls for more than 12 hours. But she sent a message to the group chat with all the guests saying she wouldn't attend, but said nothing to me directly. I messaged her again thinking something bad has happened. I was so worried about her. Then she finally replies back and tells me that she's deeply offended, that she could not tolerate anyone making her beg for her mum to attend any event. She never had to beg, by the way. Oh, and she adds that she still loves me, but that it was a very rude thing for me to do when I was told by her before many times of the fragile state of her mum and how difficult it was for her to be outside. I told her that I was trying to be mindful of her condition and that it is a very hurtful thing to do, and I was disappointed by her actions. She then proceeded to tell me that I was closed-minded and that she was not going to attend because I did not deserve her presence and that I was not that young anymore. I should be sleeping right now, but needed to write this down somewhere to make sense of what happened. You said at the very start that she's got a long history of doing this and then she pulled that shit on you. I think she's done you a favor here and in the future, just keep her at arm's length, I think. But shortly after this, OP came in with an update, which was after the wedding, and says the wedding was a great success. I was crying tears of joy the whole time because our friends and family surprised us more than once with gifts and gestures to show their love. I'm not a very extroverted person when it comes to throwing parties, and this experience of planning a wedding had me very anxious, but the result exceeded any expectations. I write this from my bed while I'm sore all over from so much dancing and laughing. As for the toxic aunt, I sent her a single message, goodbye. After that, I blocked her everywhere possible and showed my family the messages. They all told me to send her to hell together, and there she will stay, more alone than she already is, with her lies and her poison. I don't even wish her ill. I just don't have any more time to waste on an abusive people. Thanks to all the comments I received on this post, I felt mentally at peace enough to completely forget about her. Thanks for all your empathy and kind words. OP then comes in with another update titled The Aunt Strikes Back and says she recently called, something she rarely did before, my mum, because someone in her family ended up in the ER for reasons I don't know. She then proceeded to tell her how much she loves me and that it was all a misunderstanding from both of us. My mum ended the call by singing my praises and telling her how happy we all were in the wedding. I told my mum about this post and all your comments, and she agrees that the aunt should be on permanent no contact situation with all of us. We all now recognize how much she just wants to play the victim and that she's all alone for a reason. And absolutely fair play to OP in this situation for, just dealing with this shit, cutting her out, permanent no contact. But I'm sure there will be attempts further down the line from Aunt to keep trying to get back into your life. But what do you guys make of that situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from the Entitled People subreddit, starting with Entitled Bully Gets Their Just Rewards. My wife has an entitled coworker / acquaintance. I use the term acquaintance as she does run in our friend circle, but we try to limit or avoid contact with her. We will call her Carrie. Anyways, Carrie is known for bullying co-workers at work, saying that she can get people fired, she can't, screaming at people, and at large just general bad behavior. Her favorite thing to intimidate people with is to tell them to fuck around and find out. This is important for later. So Carrie had a fuck buddy. Nothing serious, just a guy that she would bang and kick out the door. Carrie is also notorious for collecting engagement rings. She would begin dating a guy and get a ring from them, get them to pay off some bill for her, then kick them to the curb. Again, I bring this up only as context to her character and to reinforce that the fuck buddy guy meant nothing to her, as she didn't date him nor tried getting a ring from him. She used him and then kicked him to the curb whenever someone with money showed her attention. She would also frequently talk shit about this guy behind his back. So Carrie was on one of her short-term engagements, so the fuck buddy, let's call him Bill, was currently not someone she was seeing, as the new guy just bought her a $6,000 ring. I'm serious, she collected engagement rings like they were Pokemon and paid 10 grand to get her roof fixed. So she was happy with this guy and had no interest at all in Bill. Enter Mandy. Mandy is another co-worker of my wife and Carrie. I personally don't know her, but from what I've been told is she just got out of a 15-year marriage where she wasn't allowed to do anything and was very controlled. Carrie and Mandy are friends, well, drinking buddies. Carrie likes to drink a lot, by that I mean all the time. But nevertheless, they were on good terms. So randomly, Mandy meets Bill. Mandy doesn't know Bill's history with Carrie, nor knows that he even knows her. They hit it off like really good, and they're getting along so well that they begin dating. And it blossoms into a great relationship, one that's built on respect and love. Carrie finds out and she loses her fucking mind. Again, she never dated Bill, never wanted to date Bill, she never had any interest in him besides sex. Hell, she's currently engaged to a guy. But Mandy took her man, and she let the world know about it. Carrie started going by to their boss daily, asking him, "Why does that little bitch still work here?" She'd also loudly exclaim this on the work floor for all to hear. Also, Carrie spent a whole hour yelling and screaming at her for something Mandy didn't even do. Carrie would also frequently harass the both of them when they were out and about in town. She would loudly call her a bunch of slurs in the "see you next Tuesday," and just all nasty things you can say about someone. She would not only loudly say these things in their proximity, but tell anyone that would listen or not listen, basically anyone around her, how she was wronged by Mandy and Bill and what she thought about it, and that Mandy is fucking around, so she's going to find out. Fast forward 2 months, Mandy and Bill are still together and extremely happy. Carrie is not surprisingly no longer engaged to that guy. Also, not surprisingly, has already been engaged to another guy and married after a week. It was unfortunately the 2-year anniversary of the passing of a mutual friend of all parties involved. Carrie is using this time to take the week off of work to drink. This is a whole other can of worms. Basically, she isn't close to the person who passed, as she claims to be. But anyways, once work is over, everyone else goes to the bar to have a drink to celebrate the departed life. So again, once Carrie, after 2 full days of drinking, sees Mandy, she begins to let into her again, with all the slut-shaming stuff. Mandy, finally have enough of it, attempts to talk to Carrie in an attempt to reconcile. Carrie is having none of this and keeps calling her names and proceeds to tell her that Mandy is fucking around and is going to find out, and ends with calling her a "see you next Tuesday." Well, I'm guessing something snapped and Mandy straight snapped and threw a beer bottle straight at her, hitting her in the face. Imagine the cop in The Big Lebowski throwing the coffee cup, knocking her on her ass. There's a slight pause and someone I don't know who pipes up. It looks like you were the one that fucked around and found out. Carrie, obviously stunned, gets up and leaves. So the next day she showed up to work with a very obvious black eye. She isn't saying anything to Mandy, but going to everyone else complaining that she was the victim, not understanding that everyone been watching her bully this poor girl for the last few months. And that's kind of it. Nothing else happened since then, but if it does, I'll let you know. Sorry, this got long-winded. So, she didn't want Bill, didn't date him, didn't keep him, trash talked about him constantly, but the second someone else found happiness with him, suddenly it's some kind of personal attack. And Mandy, who's just come out of a controlling 15-year marriage, is finally starting to live her life. And, you know, that beer bottle was just a sign of 2 months of patience hitting the wall, or Mandy's face, should I say. And it seems like just karma bit her in the ass this time. A commenter says to OP, "How is Carrie even still employed at this place? Any HR department worth their salt would have a field day with her." OP says, "Trust me, I asked the same thing. The stuff she gets away with is ludicrous. From what I understand is she is a huge kiss ass to management and bullies other people in not saying anything. Granted, that may change now. I don't know. I know they're hard up for workers, and honestly, she has done way worse to other employees from stories I hear." A commenter says, "Mandy is a hero and a saint." Opie says, honestly, she is. I didn't go into detail as I thought I was adding too much already, but Mandy is a really good person and never is unkind nor says unkind things to people. From what I know from my wife and the few interactions I have from her, she got put in situations with people that are not that way. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let's move on to another story, which comes from Tubus61 and says, when karma comes a-knocking, again from the Entitled People subreddit. I've been reading the stories of entitled people at airports and was reminded of an episode I was on the periphery of about 12 years ago. I was working for a bank in the IT department at the time, and one of our IT suppliers was launching some new hardware that they really wanted us to buy. The supplier offered to take a few of us to their site in Montpellier for a study tour. Basically, they would fly us to Montpellier, put us up in a hotel for a few nights, take us out for meals, and generally schmooze us. I love a schmoozing, while they show off their shiny new computers. The only cloud on the horizon was they were flying us from Gatwick on EasyJet. No, this is not a criticism of EasyJet, they were awesome on the day. Had the delights of a train journey from Scotland to London, and then the joys of the underground across London and the Gatwick Express to the airport. That's never a good start to a trip, but when we got into the check-in area, there were problems. There were several check-in staff off sick, and there was a hell of a queue. Not far in front of me was our entitled passenger. Oh boy, was he unhappy at the prospect of being in this queue, and he was going to let everyone know about it. Turns out he was on the same study trip I was on. We'd been in the queue for a good couple of hours and the gate closing time was getting nearer. Stress levels were going up and this chap started to get louder. Out came the usual stuff. I've got a very important meeting. And says, no, you're going on a vendor-funded jolly. I paid a lot of money. I don't expect this treatment. No, the vendor footed the bill. I want to see someone in charge now. The last one seemed to get the attention of the police. They walked over to home and pulled him out of the line and started to give him that lecture. You know, I suggest you calm down, sir. It was at this point one of the EasyJet team tapped me on the arm and asked, are you from Montpellier? I said I was, and she sent me to the desk to check in. I had realized time was getting close, so went along the queue pulling out the Montpellier customers. We were checking in really quickly, off through security and away. The last time I saw the entitled person was when the police took him back to his place in the queue just as the Montpellier flight closed. We never did see him on the study tour. It is a real pity because the vendor took us to a wine tasting session at a vineyard, out for a meal in a Michelin star restaurant, and to a pop-up nightclub on the beach. Oh, and we did see the vendor's latest shiny new hardware. Pity someone missed out on it. All he had to do was stand in that queue for a little bit longer and he would have been pulled out with OP, but just couldn't wait that long. Deary, deary me. Let's go on to another story which comes from External Toe 4560 who says, friend tells me how to save money, but then wants me to buy them stuff. Hi, I let my friend move in because they had nowhere else to go. This is a lot on me because I should have talked more about what I expected. I'm okay with helping them out, but I feel they just expect me to bankroll them. I've bought a lot of stuff because they told me we need it. A lot of it, yes, comes in handy, but we could do without it. I asked them what they want when I make my grocery order, and so my bill is more than twice what it was when it was just me. But then they go and order DoorDash all the time, but they say they don't have money to help out with expenses. I'm so broke, and my car payment is past due, and they are telling me. They don't suggest things for me to do. They basically just tell me it's what you have to do. Tonight they told me to get a cheaper car insurance to save money. They also told me that we need an expensive tool. Well, they want to start a furniture flipping business and they would need this tool for that. And they also said they're saving all their money to buy a truck because they need that for the furniture flipping business they haven't even started yet. They work freelance and they told me they were paying $350 a month rent in the place they were before, so I thought they would at least be able to contribute a little. They have bought furniture because they said we needed it, but again, while it's good to have, what is important right now is being able to pay the bills, and that should come before anything else. I have a full-time, very high-stress job, and we are very short-handed right now. I suck at setting boundaries, and this whole situation is horrible for my mental health. I just want them gone, but they have nowhere to go. I'm afraid to try and talk to them. There have already been several things in my house that broke or aren't working since they've been here. I don't think it's on purpose, but they aren't gentle and don't seem to have respect for my stuff. I feel like they think I'm just going to sacrifice everything else to buy them the stuff they want because they think they deserve my money and deserve to tell me what I should do for my house or for them instead of letting me decide for myself. And you can imagine the comments on the back of this one, just kick that person out immediately. They're taking the piss. That's pretty much all the comments said, right? Opie did come in with an update on this one though, and said, so I've given them the 30 days notice to vacate. I really do feel bad that they are struggling, but because of them, so am I. And I'm not their personal bankroll. Here are some things that they've broken since they've been here. The kitchen sink, after they came up with some reason that they needed to fix it. Bathroom sink that had a slow leak before, but now they're saying it's cracked and the seal connecting the basin and pipe just slipped off. Bookcase I've used for several years that they said just crumbled apart in their hand, which is also why they said about the pipe under the kitchen sink. Front door pulled right out of its hinges. They tried to open the bottom fake drawer on the bathroom cabinet and pulled it right off. The bathroom sink did have a slow leak before, like one drop every couple of seconds, if the water was all the way on, but it was usable. Right now it's not usable at all. They did get a plumber to come look at the kitchen sink after the handyman they posted without asking me first couldn't fix it. At one point they thought they had fixed it themselves, then yelled that brute force did the trick. I didn't want to take any chances, so the local police know about what's going on. And I set up check-ins with some of my friends every so often to let them know I'm safe. Please hope for me that they leave soon and peacefully. Thank you for all the feedback. They made me feel like I was overreacting, so it was good to have so many people take my side. And I really hope that Opie did follow through with kicking that person out, because whilst Opie felt a bit sorry for them, they are taking the absolute piss. They sound like a walking hazard. And it kind of made me worried and think about it when Opie said, they didn't want to take any chance and let the local police know. I was like, hold on a second. Is there more to this that we didn't know about? But what do you guys make of this situation? Absolute entitlement. Get the subreddit title in there. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is from a deleted user that says our friend's entitled sister tried to force her way into our trip to Egypt. This story happened quite a few years ago with me and my friends, but after reading quite a few stories on this subreddit, I feel now is a good time as any to share this post. On November 2019, me and a couple of my friends, who I will call Haley, Rose, and Rachel, were given an opportunity to travel to the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. Note that we are archaeology graduates. While our family and friends were excited and proud of us being able to go on this trip, Rachel's family did not feel the same way. Rachel's younger sister, who I call Lisa, was the golden child of her family. Anything she wanted, her parents gave to her, while Rachel had to take out a student loan to pay for college. Lisa's parents paid for her tuition, only for Lisa to drop out 2 years in. Instead, Lisa chose to try and build a career being a model and influencer on Instagram. When Rachel mentioned that she was going to Egypt with us, that our plane tickets and accommodation had been already taken care of for an archaeological fieldwork, Lisa got jealous as she felt that a trip taking photos of herself in Egypt for Instagram would help launch her modeling career. That said, their parents demanded that Rachel give her tickets to Lisa as they felt Lisa was more deserving of it, to which Rachel obviously said no. It was already paid for by the foundation specifically for her and our group, who were trained to do this kind of work, etc. According to Rachel, she had a back and forth arguments with her family leading up to the trip, that she eventually just left home and moved in with her boyfriend, now husband's, apartment. I held on to our plane tickets as we were all to meet up at my dad's place in the morning before we head off to the airport. At the time, I still lived with my dad. That said, as me, Rachel, Haley, and Rose were at my place, just hanging out and getting ready, the car of Lisa and their mum pulled up as they came knocking on my door. Apparently, they were demanding one more time that Rachel give her ticket to Lisa. Lisa even had a couple of bags with her as well. Before I continue, just to give you a better understanding of Lisa and Rachel's family and why they may behave or think this way. Rachel is the only one in her family who has actually finished college. Rachel pretty much took care of herself for much of her childhood, as her parents were too fixated on Lisa. Their parents moved to Los Angeles from Florida to try and become actors but failed. Moved up here for some reason, and now their dad works as a truck driver, and their mum, I think, works at a grocery store. Rachel's family treated formal education and academia in general as a joke and didn't really support the idea of anyone going to college until Lisa decided she wanted to try going to college herself, as previously mentioned. Haley then interjected, interrupting them and pointing out again, this was not a vacation, this was an archaeological trip, and we were going there to do actual work. Haley went on to point out that it's Rachel's name on the plane ticket and our accommodation in Luxor. So she asked Lisa and her mum questions like, how do you think Lisa is going to get on the plane? Who will Lisa be traveling with in Egypt? And where will Lisa be staying there? Apparently Lisa, despite not being friends with us at all, and her mum expected the rest of us, me, Haley and Rose, to just somehow convince customs to let her through and get on the flight, as well as expecting us to look after and accompany Lisa. I should also note that apart from Rachel, nobody in her family ever traveled on a plane before. Lisa and their mum have never been overseas, and the only international traveling their dad ever did was driving trucks to and from Mexico. That said, I'm guessing this is why they don't seem to know how plane tickets or customs work, but that's just my assumption. I then pointed out to Lisa that if she really wants to go to Egypt, she could just buy her own tickets to Egypt and book her own accommodation. However, Lisa said she didn't want to do any of that, and she just wanted Rachel's place in our trip, as she wanted all expenses to be paid for and for us to accompany her, as she didn't want to travel by herself. Lisa and her mum eventually left after seeing that trying to argue and force a way into our trip was not getting them anywhere, with the four of us, me, Haley, Rachel and Rose, flying off to Egypt. After the dig at the Valley of the Kings, we did get to go do touristy stuff such as touring Cairo and seeing the pyramids of Giza. As for Lisa, while she still posts a lot on Instagram, she seems to have given up on modeling and/or influencer career, as she's now just working in a warehouse. After the pandemic, she did get to go on vacation to Cancun though, but that's about it. Edit, I make it a point to print out paper copies of the tickets, as I prefer using paper rather than showing them on my phone, and needless to say, yes, we all had our passports and visas, except Lisa, who had a passport, sure, but I'm certain didn't have a visa. Oh my bloody word, I do miss some of the wild shit that goes on in entitled people sometimes. You know, she spent years getting an archaeology degree, earns a fully funded trip to the Valley of the Kings, and her family's response is to literally show up at someone else's door with a packed bags demanding that she hand it over. I mean, it's just some wild ass shit, right? And they thought somehow they were just gonna convince customs. I'm sorry, what? These people have never been on a plane, and it shows. And like I was saying, the entitlement is one thing, right? But the complete lack of basic logic is something else. It would have been genuinely interesting if she did actually go onto that trip to see what she would have done in Egypt, turning up to dig sites. I've been to Egypt once, and I'll tell you what, the snorkeling was absolutely amazing. Seeing those fish, the colors, it was beautiful. Coming back in to just say a little 20-second waffle coming in if you're eating right now is pretty grim, so you might want to skip this section, just 20 seconds or so. But one day I got really ill, and I mean, I could barely stand up. And that evening I sat on the toilet and holy hell come out of my arsehole. I was a shell of a man, let me tell you. Too much info. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's have another story. Now, our next story is titled Mum Through the Gender Reveal I Didn't Want Without Me. It seemed like many were amused by my crazy mother's antics shared in Mum Still Complains We Named My Daughter After My Mother-in-Law 1.5 years later. My mother-in-law is deceased. So here's another funny, ridiculous story from my pregnancy. Disclaimer that this took place almost 2 years ago. My mother is narcissistic and abusive. She pretended to change when we were adults. All that went out the window when during my pregnancy everything had to be her way, or she'd scream I was making everything about me, ignoring that she was making everything about her. One thing she demanded early on was a gender reveal. I still didn't know why. She and my father didn't have them for my brothers or me. My brothers also wanted a gender reveal. When I asked why, I was told because they wanted to. I said no. I think they were a bit creepy, to be honest. This is not a judgment on people who do have them. I just didn't want one for us. My husband agreed. I offered a compromise to my mum to add pink filters to the ultrasound photos. That wasn't good enough. My mother planned a gender reveal anyway for a weekend I was visiting. I'm about 7 hours from them and didn't tell me. She planned a virtual party with pink gender reveal decorations. My dad let me know and I was upset. I talked to my mother and she told me she was compromising by doing a virtual gender reveal because I didn't want to party. I told her I appreciated the thought. I was in therapy for family dormitism at the time, but it wasn't something to compromise on because it wasn't wanted. I couldn't even cancel it myself because she didn't tell me who she'd invited. She and my brothers hounded my husband and me, trying to get us to change our minds. Even my dad reached out to ask me to just go along with it to keep the peace. After weeks of this, my mother came to us and meekly said she understood we didn't want it, but that she bought some pink poppers on sale. She said it would mean a lot if we could just please pop them and take some pictures with just my husband, dad, and brothers when we visited. It was a completely different way than she'd been talking to me. I agreed, since I was taken aback, and a few photos for posterity couldn't hurt, right? Plus, she asked so nicely. Well, a week before we were to visit, I was flooded with calls and texts congratulating me on my baby girl. My husband and I had only told immediate family at that point, as I suffered a late miscarriage previously. My mum had changed the date and had the gender reveal a week early. My husband and I weren't even in the state. She filmed it and sent it to everyone in my family but my husband and me. She also didn't include any of my husband's family, though she had their contact info. I tried to call her, straight to voicemail. 4 hours after sending it to everyone else, she sent the video to me. It features my brothers breaking a piñata. When it explodes in pink powder, my mother says, "That's right, we're having a girl." Then they pop pink poppers. Honestly, I think it's pretty cringy. Finally, she answered me. I asked why the fuck she had a gender reveal and sent the video without my involvement. She dismissed me and said, "I don't know why you're so upset. You didn't want the gender reveal anyway." Like, yes, that is exactly why I was upset. She stole my pregnancy announcement and specifically did the gender reveal I didn't want and hid it from me. I was so upset I cancelled on visiting the following weekend and spent time with my husband's family instead. That's when we agreed to use mother-in-law's middle name for my daughter, which is covered in the post I mentioned at the beginning. Hopefully you get some enjoyment from this story. I was so upset at the time, but looking back, the absurdity makes me laugh. Top commenter says to AP, I hope your mum is now on the list of people who don't get to know anything until after you've told literally everyone else. She shouldn't know about pregnancies until you've told absolutely everyone you want to tell. She shouldn't find out about the gender until the baby is born. Your dad and brothers go on that list too, since they're her enablers. Next he says, so this is the evidence you'll give her as to why you will never trust her unsupervised with your children, right? She just proves she's a person that will make choices about your child that go directly against your boundaries, and that she will lie and gaslight to get a chance to act on those decisions and then blame you after you react in a completely predictable fashion to her disregard and disrespect. If she gets shitty about it, tell her that you're just protecting her from herself because you'd absolutely press charges if she did something to your kids that she thought or knew you'd disapprove of. And you can just see it's one of those situations where one day down the road, no contact is gonna have to be done, right? If she's willing to go this far, it's unhinged in itself, and everyone around her seems to be enabling that behavior, the husband and the brothers. It's some crazy ass shit, right? Throwing a gender reveal without you there, announcing your pregnancy without you there, doing it purposely, sending it hours before she sends it to you. Madness. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Puzzle-Headed Chef 516, and it says, am I the arsehole here for not taking my friend's kids last minute? My friend is a single mom to 2 girls. I take the older one, 11 years old, from time to time, as she always wants to come over and I love spending time with her. The younger one is 5 and autistic. I've taken her for a few hours but never overnight, as my house is not a small child-friendly or set up for a neurodivergent child. No gates, no special locks, sharp edges everywhere, etc. I have 4 adults in my house, no kids. She called me today at 3 p.m. and asked me to pick them up from school, 45 minutes across the city, at 3:15 p.m. I told her I wasn't off work until 6 p.m. and also I can't do a 45-minute drive in 15 minutes. She said to make an excuse and leave work now. I asked what the emergency was and she said no emergency. My boyfriend wants to go out of town for the weekend and we are already heading out of the city, so just go get them. I told her no, I'm not leaving work, and also my house isn't safe for the younger one, plus no clothes or anything for either. She said just buy the stuff to make it safe and buy them clothes, and hung up. I called her back, no answer. Text, no response. So I messaged her mum on Facebook and told her what was going on. She asked why I can't just do this small favor. I said I'm an adult with bills to pay and can't just leave work, and you've seen my house. It isn't set up for small kids. She told me to figure it out and go get them, and hung up. I'm not leaving work. I text my friend again and said I'm not leaving work and I can't take the kids this weekend. It is Easter and I have plans with my family. Had she asked sooner, I could have taken the older one at least. No response and no read reports. The school has called me and asked me to come get them, which I said I can't, and I can't get a hold of her either. It's 5 p.m. I still have an hour of work left. Her mum refuses to go. So am I the arsehole here for not taking her kids last minute and being demanded to, not asked to? Now, of course, not the arsehole. This wasn't a small favor. It was abandoning her kids and expecting you to fix it. She wanted you to leave work with 15 minutes notice, drive 45 minutes, and then take a 5-year-old autistic child in a house you said isn't safe, wanted you to buy clothes and childproof everything, and cancel your Easter plans. That's absolutely wild, and the biggest red flag is that she left town before even confirming childcare. You even contacted her mum and responded to the school. I think OP did more than enough in this situation, and I also wonder about the past history with this person, because you'd have thought people don't jump straight to drop everything and take my kids unless they're used to others cleaning up their messes. And the mum saying figure it out instead of going herself makes it seem like that this isn't new behavior. But a commenter said to OP, not the arsehole. Hopefully the school will call CPS to take the kids into care from the mother who abandoned them. Or the police. She could be charged with neglect. Call the grandmother and let her know one final time that you aren't getting the kids, and if no one picks them up, they will be considered abandoned. Someone replies saying, don't call, send in writing, or both. OP wants all the evidence for when mum tries to turn it around, but OP said they would, wah, not the arsehole, obviously. OP says, I've called, left voicemails, turned on record calls on my phone, text the moment. Messaged the grandmother on Facebook as I don't have her phone number, just on Facebook from previously picking the kid up from her and her phone was broken. I am an emergency contact for the kids, but told the school this isn't an emergency. Their mum left last minute and assumed I would pick them up. Commenter says, dump her as a friend. Who the fuck goes out of town without making sure their children have proper care? She's a dumbass, and so is her mum. This is insane. Please update us. OP says, I could do without her, but her older daughter and I are super close. Like play Fortnite or Minecraft together almost every weekend, so I would miss her so much if all of a sudden I never saw her again. Crafty Sock says, if what you say is accurate, you are not the arsehole. I don't know anyone who would do something like that. That irresponsible person and her mother have to be from another planet, possibly Uranus. OP says, sadly, she is an addict, so I think that plays into it. OP came in with an update after a few hours and said CPS has been called. The older kid, her dad passed away, and the younger one, the dad is on his way, but he's a 4-hour drive away. Friend's phone is now turned off. I feel like the friendship is most likely over after this. The grandmother isn't answering Facebook messages. Again, I don't have a phone number, just Facebook. Then OP comes in the next day with their final update and says, kids went to their grandpa's. Friend's parents are divorced. CPS called him, but he was working, so returned the call after work. The youngest is with Biodad. Oldest is with Grandpa. Both Mum and Grandma are addicts. Friend said I agreed to watch them, and when I proved I had said no, and told them both that he decided he is fighting for custody of the oldest for her safety, and youngest, the dad is going to court for full custody. Grandpa's fine with me taking the oldest like I have done before, as he knows her and I are close. I just care that they are safe and will get cared for and loved. So glad they didn't end up in the system. Commenter says, I swear I've seen this story before. Too extreme to be believed? OP says, if there is a similar story, I would love to chat to that person and see how they handled it. I hope my friend gets help for her addiction. The kids are safe now with Grandpa for the oldest, and Dad for the youngest, and that's all that matters. Until my friend gets help for her addiction, I'll be cutting contact like many suggested. as I always try to help people and fix things, and this time I said no, as really deep down I thought she would just go back and be a mum, but apparently not. You think whatever you want. I don't post often on Reddit because generally speaking, I know when I am or I'm not the arsehole, but this time I really felt maybe I was in the wrong and should have helped her. Commenter says, I hope this one is fake. This is an insane way for children to have to live. Opie responds saying, sadly people with addiction, it comes before anything else. My mother suffered with addiction with pills when I was growing up, and I remember walking home after sports practice because she was high and forgot to pick me up. There are so many options for help, but people like to be victims and blame the disease rather than working on curing it. Ugh, as I always say, stories with kids, they absolutely get to me because it's just such a depressing situation to think that those kids are going through. Just all the little small thoughts and feelings that they must be thinking about watching their mum with their addiction at the same time. That's got to be scary for them. And just the uncertainty, the no stability in their lives at all. I really do hope going forward that they do get some stability back in their lives and just some normal childhood, because it's incredibly sad. But so many of the commenters saying how incredibly common this kind of thing is. But what do you guys make of this one? There were some discussions below about the amount of stories of people just abandoning their kids on people's doorsteps, and this person was talking about their favorite saga is the sister who kept dumping her kids on brother during vacations, and someone shared a link to that, so we're going to jump straight into that one next. It was featured both on the Am I the Arsehole and Entitled People subreddit. They said, am I the arsehole for saying I'll be driving myself and paying for my own room on the upcoming family vacation, so I won't have to be a babysitter. I, 23 male, was repeatedly stuck playing the part of helper and babysitter on our family outings. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to help watch my 3 nephews. Last year we took a family vacation in the summer to the coast. I rode along with my parents and they paid for my hotel room. Only I had to share that room with 3 rowdy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a room to themselves. I was promised time to do my own things on the vacation, but instead I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everyone about it and was reminded I was there for free. But then we pretty much just did only one thing I wanted to do, which was tour an art gallery. I like doing this whenever I'm at the coast, but the kids find it boring. This year, my parents have a beach trip planned for June, and they assumed I'd be riding along the same way as last year. But I refused. I said I'd be driving myself and paying for my own hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I said it was no worry. I've got a good job and a decent running car. I can more than afford it. That's when the buts started. I stated the previously listed things as to why I'll be driving myself and paying for myself. I want to be able to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not be treated like a child like last year. My parents told my sister and she called to blow up at me that I'll be ruining the vacation if I'm off doing my own thing while she has to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling at her that last year all she did was rope me into her mess. I didn't really get to do much of anything I wanted to do, and I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to just go to an art gallery. I'm a grown man. I deserve my own vacation too. Now, my sister is not speaking to me, and my parents are still trying to convince me to just ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing, but the pressure is getting to me. Am I the arsehole for not giving in? I know they'll have a pretty hard time when they won't have another person there to help. Edit. It's been barely an hour since I posted, but my sister is apparently a Reddit lurker in the mornings and she saw my post. Not only is she furious with me, but she's also upset no one in the comments is siding with her. To make it short, she went on a big rant about how it's so hard to be a parent to triplets, and the least I could do is help because I'm young and single and she needs a break. I stood my ground on my decision, and now she's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm expecting a call from them any minute. OP then updates again saying, well, I'm off work now, so I can tell more of what went down. I guess you could say it's over. My sister got our parents involved, they looked at my post and were absolutely horrified by the continuous influx of commenters. Yes, they're very angry with me that I posted here, but I told them that if they'd just listened to me to begin with, I'd have never needed to. I'm sick of the whole keep the peace mentality that sacrifices me to placate my sister. They in turn went off on my sister, and to make a long story short, the whole vacation has been cancelled. The hotel wasn't booked yet anyways, but my parents are arguing with my sister. My sister is blaming me, and my nephews are crying because they aren't going to the beach. My sister called me at lunch and basically implied I have no life, which is why I have time to help. I recorded that and told our parents, and that's currently what they're fighting about. Small update. I wasn't going to update again, but here's a little more. Parents said they won't ever push babysitting of my nephews on me again, and have agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Right now they're very angry with my sister for telling me I should help her because she thinks I have no life. My sister is playing the victim, and my brother-in-law is basically saying nope to the whole mess and spending most of his time at work. Thank you to everyone who's commented. You made my day. So, OP was obviously voted not the arsehole in this situation, but a week later, they came back again and says, a week ago, I made this throwaway account to ask am I the arsehole a question. I was found to be anything but the arsehole in. I have too much to say in a post in am I the arsehole as an update, so a friend recommended I come here, which must have been the Entitled People subreddit. My posting on am I the arsehole essentially opened a Pandora's box in the family. Basically, my parents and older sister had become very comfortable with me helping with the childcare of my young triplet nephews. I didn't leave home until I was 22 because I was trying to save money while also going to college. A scholarship covered a lot, and living at home kept me from getting rising debt due to my working part-time as well. I'm very thankful for this. However, after college, everyone just seemed to act like I had endless time on my hands and convinced me along on a family vacation. In this so-called vacation, I was forced to babysit my 3 at the time 6-year-old nephews. Had even had to share a hotel room with them. And believe me, those kids did not listen to a damn thing I said on the first night until I called their mother twice. And I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to do other things during the trip. Like if it's something the family doesn't enjoy as a whole, then it doesn't happen. Which was extremely hypocritical because I'm family and wasn't included in that vote. And you bet I aired this grievance with my parents after my last post, and they have acknowledged being in the wrong. After that awful vacation last year, I decided it was time to move out, and did so before the summer even ended, which surprised everyone as I gave them no warning. I'd landed a great job pretty much right after college thanks to an internship, and used moving as an excuse to drop my commute from 45 minutes to 15. My sister hated this the most because it meant no more free babysitting on weekends. But she still tried to make me do it. I caved sometimes, usually being bribed with pizza, and this sort of became a new norm. But then last month my parents announced plans for another family vacation to do the same place along the coast, and they basically wanted it to go the same way. I immediately saw it for what it was, a trap. I knew that if I rode with my parents and let them buy the hotel rooms, I'd be screwed over the same way as last time. So I just casually stated I'd drive myself and pay for myself, and that's when the shitstorm started. When my parents realized they couldn't entrap me like before, they resorted to borderline begging, and my sister practically tried to order me to go with the flow through gaslighting. Newsflash, I didn't. After I didn't cave to my sister's demands, I made the Am I the Arsehole post after days of harassment, and then my sister somehow spotted the post in less than an hour. What followed was Pandora's box. At first, the family was against me. My sister called our parents and they called me, and I still had little time to talk in the morning. My parents were on the phone with me while also reading my post. I asked them if anything in the post was a lie. They sort of steered around it and called the post an exaggeration, but I pointed out numerous details that made it pretty much on the mark. Then I told them to check the comments. There were already far too many to read. I was repeatedly refreshing the page on my home PC and telling them how many comments there were. Then I told them that I was sick of their mentality of keeping the peace by forcing me to placate my sister. Then I said I was out of time and would have to resume this later. Well, my parents were positively horrified that hundreds, if not thousands of people were commenting in a matter of hours. And later on I told them that the numbers had basically doubled and were still growing, which only added to their horror. So I guess they were forced to take a long look at their own actions. My sister tried to call me a bitch while I was at work, but my phone was on silent till my lunch break, so all she could do was leave messages and texts. But she was persistent and managed to get through to me when I was eating my lunch. The gist of the conversation was my post had taken our parents away from her side, and now they were mad at her. In the ensuing argument between them, my parents cancelled the entire vacation. Yes, they later acknowledged they just passed the blame out of embarrassment and a fully accepted fault. They told me no excuses could excuse the fact that they made me their go-to free babysitter when I wasn't even living at home anymore. They did try to backtrack a little by pointing out they never charged me rent while I was in college, but I reminded them kids don't ask to be born. I was doing my hardest to make my own way. Then I pointed out my father had the same kind of leg up from his parents. They let him live free of charge at home while he was in college. That basically ended any argument my parents had left. When my sister managed to call me at lunch, I presented the facts to her, and she showed her true colors. She implied that I have no life, and that my free time on weekends should be spent helping her because she is tired and unable to even go out without bringing her children with her, unless someone is watching them. She's a stay-at-home mother with a husband that makes a decent salary. They live in a pretty decent house that's owned, not rented, and to be frank, my nephews aren't really my responsibility. They just forced them on me and expected it to stay that way. My sister angrily hung up on me, but I recorded the call and then played it to my parents later. They were furious, and they basically went to war with my sister. My sister dug her heels in, blamed me, and then doubled down on her belief my life should circle around hers. I told her that was the most narcissistic and entitled thing she's ever said about me. It took days, but her husband finally stepped in and forced her to apologize to me. I've never seen her cowed like that by anyone, but she was on the verge of crying. It ended up being admitted that one of the reasons I was the go-to babysitter was because my sister didn't trust strangers. It was never about money, or was it? Actually, my brother-in-law thought my sister was paying me for my time watching her kids after I moved out of my parents' house. She didn't even give me gas money, just gave me cash that was enough to order pizza for both myself and the kids and pocketed the rest. My sister had been shortchanging me for months. He blew up at her when this came out during a half-assed apology, and she was forced to pay me what she owed me in cash entirely from her own savings, which she looked very sore about. Then my brother-in-law apologized to me for his own inaction and letting my sister walk all over me, and promised they'd get a normal babysitter from now on. Yes, it'd be a bit of a drop in the bucket for them, but my sister will be getting date nights back. Then came the family meeting the other day's evening. We all gathered up at my parents' house, and everything was laid bare, apologies all around and whatnot. Then my parents reinstated the family vacation, and yes, I still plan to drive myself and pay for my own hotel stay. I'll even stay in a completely different hotel if my sister tries to revert me to childcare. And I have stated this. She's promised me that won't happen, and if I don't update again after the vacation in another month or so, then you'll all know everything is fine. There is another update, by the way. Someone said, "Did sis emotionally abuse you when you were growing up?" Opie responded saying she put me down a fair bit when I was a kid. We've got a decent difference in age, but that stopped when she moved out on her own. It didn't really start up again until she had kids, because once that happened, she set her sights on me as the free help. Yes, she did gaslight me if I complained, whine to our parents that I wasn't being helpful enough, and then I'd fight with my parents and her. Thankfully, college forced them to all ease up on me because I was busy with my education and an internship. Unfortunately, once I graduated college, my sister took it as a free pass to believe I had endless time on my hands. But now that I've shown my backbone, I won't ever let her walk all over me like that again. And she knows it too because I've said it to her face. I just feel sorry for whatever babysitters she hires because she's no doubt going to want to look down on them. I stated that to my brother-in-law and warned him that I won't hesitate to go on Reddit about it if she does treat them like crap. He was not happy with me, but he also admitted he understood my point and will make sure she does not do that. Things are kind of neutral between us currently. So it was 6 days after this one that OP came in again and said, having a family that knows about your Reddit account has its disadvantages. Yesterday, my sister called me after I got off work to ask me if the comments are still coming in. She said she cannot bear the negativity of looking at them herself because the comments are so hurtful towards her. So I was brutally honest. At least 10 comments are still coming in daily, and most of them more or less say the same things about her. She started crying and demanding I delete my Reddit posts, but I refused and told her she can cry to anyone she wants, but the posts stay up because they are my assurance she won't try to treat me like crap anymore. After all, she literally felt like my life should revolve around hers, didn't pay me the babysitting money she was supposed to, and pocketed it for herself, and forced me to be the constant babysitter on last year's family vacation, so I had pretty much no fun the entire time. Is it really any wonder people are having so much hate for her when she treated me like that? Then when I mentioned the post had already spread to other websites because I was asked a couple of times to let an article be made about my situation, and there are some videos that were read as well. My sister shrieked hearing that and hung up. My parents then called me begging I take the post down. I refused and stated I only did this because they didn't stick up for me. This would have never happened if they told my sister to treat me like an equal and not a servant. I'm not a butler, babysitter, or handyman. I'm a freaking brother and a grown-ass man. Wouldn't they be tired of this crap in my shoes too? They agreed, but still begged to take the post down. I refused and said that I keep making more if they don't start sticking up for me more when my sister comes crying to them. Let her clean up her own messes, because all of the enabling of her led to this. I didn't father those kids. I've got a life of my own, a career I'm still new to, and hopefully soon enough a girlfriend as there's someone I want to ask out. I'm moving my life forward, and I won't be held back. They can either step out of my way or keep trying to enable my sister. But I assured them that the latter would end badly for them. The only way this posting on Reddit will stop is if the drama stops. I've kept things anonymous and I've got a right to vent my very valid frustrations. Well, that left my mother crying. My father just went silent, and I said tears don't move me. They know what it'll take to end this, and that's to stop enabling my sister. Well, my sister called me again to yell at me that our parents have told her that they aren't dealing with this anymore, and to figure it out herself. Oh, and they told her to be nicer to me too. I just pictured her eye twitching as she internally screamed after hearing that. Be nice to my kid brother. What is this? Do I look it up on Google? Yeah, I was that sarcastic to her, but it left her crying too when I hung up. My brother-in-law called me later to get my side of the story. He was mad I'm still posting and made his wife cry, but I explained everything to him and he said he'd have another talk with my sister. I'm hoping this drama finally ends here, but the family vacation is still on for late June. I've already booked my room and put in for a day off work so we can all leave on Friday. My room is also not near the ones my parents, sister, brother-in-law and nephews will be using. In fact, it's not even on the same floor. And when we go to the coast, when it's not a family activity, I'm going to go where I want and do what I want. And you can bet I'm going to tour those art galleries, pig out on local food, and just enjoy being carefree for a change. So it was almost a month after that post that Opie came in again and says, well, the family vacation is over. Some things, both good and bad, went as expected. Good in that being my parents didn't enable my sister trying to make me babysit. Oh yes, she did try, but bad in that my sister did try to find out which room I was in, but that failed and got her in trouble with her husband again. Firstly, I made sure to tell the hotel in advance that they were not to give out any of my information to anyone who asked except for the police. If something needed that were to come to pass, they assured me over the phone that they would not tell a soul. Then on the day of the vacation, I left earlier in the morning than the rest of the family. I knew they wouldn't be able to get moving as a group to at least 10 a.m, so I left at 9 a.m. Check-in wouldn't be until 1 p.m, but I wanted to make sure I had a head start. I sent out an FWI group text and was off like a shot to make the 3-hour drive. My parents were upset that they'd planned a family brunch on the way, but I pointed out I was never made aware of that, so it was cancelled in favor of fast food. Like I planned, I arrived to the hotel early. Too early for check-in, but I told the desk staff I was there to make sure my parents or sister didn't give them my information. They claim they don't do that, but I told them I know for a fact it still happens sometimes, so I'm covering my ass. When they happened to be dealing with my mother and my sister and 3 potentially crying boys trying to guilt them at the desk, they'd better not yield. And I wanted to know if they try anything. They awkwardly promised me no one would get access to my room. Then I decided to go out and get something to eat. I came back more than an hour later, and there was my parents' car and my brother-in-law's big SUV. I went to the desk to check in after making sure the lobby was clear, and it was. Then I asked the clerk if my family had asked about me and where I was staying in the hotel. Yeah, they did, but the clerk refused to tell them. My sister had apparently tried to push it, but her husband shut her up. I checked in, went to my room and called my folks. I didn't mention that I knew that they tried with the clerk, and they conveniently didn't mention it either. Then we all met up as a family to go out and tour around. My sister at one point asked me to watch her kids for a moment, to which I replied, hell no, because I knew exactly what she was doing. She'd pretend to be gone for a moment and then would be gone for an hour. I called her out and her husband told her to stop trying to make me watch their kids. What did my sister do? She started crying on the spot that she needs a break. Her husband scolded her that he's a tired man, but he wasn't complaining. My mother gave me a nasty look. So I went right to her and said that if she even tries to think that I should be watching those kids, I'd walk away from this family vacation right now. It's not my job and I'm sick and tired of her and my sister acting like it is. Well, that made my mother start crying too. And then she just started repeating the words, "You're right," over and over again. This is another old tactic of hers. She tries to look pathetic to guilt me, but I just said I am right and to just let it go before walking away. Neither my mother or sister tried anything for the rest of the day. When we got back to the hotel after dinner, my family were all crowding the elevator, but I didn't get in with them. They asked why and I said I'd wait for the next one. My sister glared at me because she knew exactly what I was doing. And I just sat in the lobby watching YouTube on my phone for 15 minutes and then I took the elevator up. I was on a different floor and on the other end of the hotel. I had a splendid night and the next morning we all went out for breakfast, but I made sure they left first. I was the last one out, just like I was the last one in the night before. Breakfast went fine. I then gave an FWI that I was going to be doing my own thing for the day. My mother tried to bring up plans to go to the aquarium and a couple of other places, so I said I'd meet them for those, but the rest of the day was mine until family dinner. They accepted this, and that day went fine too. Back at the hotel that evening though, my sister caught me leaving my room. She must have been stalking the whole floor looking for me. I went back to my room to chill a bit before dinner because I was tired from walking so much. My sister was just down the hall when I left my room to meet them for dinner. She tried to corner me and say that I'd ruined the family vacation for her because now it wasn't hardly any different for her than at home since she had to wrangle her kids. I called bullspit because my parents were helping her a lot. Then I told her I'm sick of this song and dance of being her scapegoat and it's already over, so leave me the hell alone and get on with your own life. Then I started walking with her yelling, "Hey, I'm trying to talk to you." I told her I didn't give a crap and was going to dinner. She followed me to the elevator and we both said nothing to each other. I didn't stay silent and told my parents and brother-in-law that my sister had stalked me to find my room. She was scolded like a child. She had a pity party. I told her to stop milking it and grow up. The old days when she could force her will on me were over, and then I walked out of the lobby and to my car. This time I was the first one to dinner when everyone else arrived. My sister looked depressed, but not a damn thing was said about what happened before, and that was just fine with me. My sister refrained from making eye contact with me the entire evening, and this time I didn't give a crap about riding in the elevator with the rest of them. I just told them bluntly that unless it was an emergency, no one is to come knocking on my door. I had a do not disturb sign for a reason. The final day, everything went swimmingly. Neither my sister or mother bothered me at all. They'd fully surrendered at this point. Yes, during the whole vacation I did play with my nephews a bit. I'm not a complete jerk. I didn't stonewall them. I kept being the fun uncle. Just not the babysitter uncle. The kids didn't even seem to care. They just wanted to play. I even bought each of them one of those little baggies of crystals and polished stones to take home as a souvenir. There was a bit of mild drama between my sister and her husband, but that was just some small disagreements that I didn't bother to pay attention to. All in all, I'd call the vacation a win because it finally hit home for my mother and sister that the old way they did things involving me was over and I had my own life. Opie comes in with one more post and says they really don't know when to leave well enough alone. Hey mum, hey sis, I warned you that if it didn't stop, I would go right back to Reddit. And here I am. The short of it is that my mother and sister saw my last post and freaked out. My sister was stalking my account for days because she knew I'd post. Well, what did she expect? That I would just say everybody had a good time? She called me and cried that I made her look like a bad mother. I ended up replying, well, if the glass slipper fits. My sister argued with me some more, but I asked her to name anything in the post that was a lie. She tried several times, but I pointed out that every detail was spot on. So what does she do? She calls mummy. Then my mother showed up at my door demanding I delete all the posts. I told her no, and now I have ammunition for one more. I ended up making her leave crying. I spoke with my mother and father over the phone later and bluntly told them that their enabling of my sister led to the previous family dynamic. I will never go back to how things were, so if they have any hope of that left, I'm snuffing it out for good. My parents then told my sister that for the love of God to stop blaming me and to leave me alone. They can't take the stress of my retaliation anymore. Well, my sister had a literal no one loves me pity party and my parents had to snap her back to reality. My brother-in-law hasn't called. Pretty sure he's staying indifferent and neutral, but this can't be good for his marriage or my familial connection to him. So out of respect to my brother-in-law, I'm sorry man, but your wife pushed me too far. Currently, my parents are insisting my sister gets counselling because she can't be a good mum and juggle the habits of her old life too. Woman up, as they say. Either way, I'm hoping this is my last post. You hear that, sis? If you don't stop thinking I should have been your personal slave, babysitter, watchdog, etc., etc., and want to keep acting like the whole world is against you because you can't lord over me, then we can't be around each other. Maybe we can get along and move past this crap if you're willing. Don't give me a reason to write anything else, and Reddit posts about you end here. I'll only post ones involving me and the treatment I get from people. Treat me like a decent human being, and this will be over. At some point, Opie added this section as well, saying, my parents and I had a long talk in which they've apologized, and for the moment we've agreed that I keep a bit of distance until Thanksgiving. I also had a man-to-man talk with my brother-in-law last night over some cold beers. He told me my sister needed counseling or he would separate from her, and they are in the process of finding her a counselor. He also told me that while my sister was an absolute witch to me, at home she's very loving and endearing wife. But she also admitted that she liked being an only child. We're nearly a decade apart in age, so my sister held on to some resentment about that for a long time and just let it build up. She agreed that she does need counseling and will be going as soon as they get it set up. They've also found a qualified babysitter to look after my nephews. Aside from those things, my brother-in-law did admit that he was angry with me too, but didn't step in when I needed him. So we've agreed that this was all just a very bad situation that needs to be ended. So we're going to let it rest in peace from here on out. Lastly, these posts have gotten me a girlfriend. The girl I like had a feeling it was me after she read them, and was just waiting for me to say something. And we'll be going on our first date tonight. So I thank everybody here for their immense support. I really needed it. I was just left wondering through a lot of that why Opie even wanted to go on that vacation to begin with. He could have just went somewhere completely different, done his own thing every single day and just been happy, I think. But I guess sometimes family's just gonna family like that, right? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Our next story comes from Nervous Bumblebee 144 and does come with an update, and it's entitled Aunt Stole Ashes. When I, 20 female, was a kid, my beautiful great aunt Beth sadly passed away from aggressive cancer. She was cremated and my mother was given a small pendant with her ashes in it. Due to some messy family problems, Beth stated that she never wanted any of her ashes to go to my great-grandmother, 80 female. It is important to note that great-grandma, despite being a literal millionaire, refused to help pay for Beth's cancer treatments because she should have married a richer man. It's common in my family to pass the pendant around as a token of strength, which is why I thought nothing of it when my aunt Kathy, 40 female, asked to borrow the pendant, which was in my care. She said her doctor thought she had cancer and she wanted to wear it for the biopsy. I didn't think twice before I gave it to her. 2 weeks later, she returns the pendant, and I noticed a large glob of superglue on top of the screw that seals the ashes in the pendant. I brought this up to my mum, who suggested that I try to open it. I tried, but the screw was superglued into the pendant, and I didn't have the tools to get it out without damaging the necklace. We brought it up to Kathy, and she nervously shrugged it off. I mailed it to my mum to fiddle with and put the issue at the back of my mind. A few weeks later, my great-grandma came to town for a visit. Last week, my mum was finally able to crack the necklace open. Lo and behold, the ashes were nowhere to be found. I instantly knew Kathy stole the ashes and gave them to great-grandma against Beth's dying wishes. My mum called up Kathy and asked her if she stole them. She was caught so off guard. She admitted to it, however she didn't apologize for stealing them. She said she would have never done it if she knew we had found out, and that maybe my mother and I wouldn't be so upset if we never opened the necklace in the first place. I cannot comprehend how a person is so goddamn entitled that they feel it's okay to 1. Steal ashes, 2. Disrespect the dying wish of a person whose ashes they stole, and 3. Not feel remorse and blame us for being upset. Maybe she wanted to secure a place in great-grandma's will, or maybe she truly just lacks a moral compass. Either way, I'm infuriated, but sleeping well knowing I have one less crazy aunt to deal with. The top comments were kind of along the lines I was thinking. Can this be filed to the police as someone stealing ashes? Because it's technically stealing still, isn't it? So, and like many of these stories we read, I always think, what is going through your head? I'd love to know if we had some way of like going back and rewinding and just finding out what's going on in people's heads like that. Just like in that moment, taking that pendant and thinking, I'm going to take this, give this to my great grandmother. Someone's ashes. Holy shit. But Vegan High School says, do you plan on getting the ashes back? OP says, I would like to try, but the messy family problems is the fact that my great grandmother who received the ashes from my aunt is a very selfish woman who's married to a former DA. That being said, I don't know if any legal action would turn up a result, given her husband's connection, so the only way to get them back would be if I or my mother were to convince her to give them back out of the kindness of her heart. And then there was a lot of comments saying, to publicly shame her to give them back. Some people saying, just steal them back. But OP did update the post, and they said a few months ago, I, 20 female, posted about how my aunt Kathy, 40 female, stole my necklace full of my deceased aunt Beth's ashes and gave them away to my great grandmother, who Beth specifically stated she did not want to end up with. I've come to you all with an explosive update. About last week, Kathy accused me of selling marijuana to my cousin, 16 male. Of course, this was false and completely baseless accusation. I told my mum and it upset her enough to confront Kathy. Some nasty words were exchanged, which led to my mother exposing the truth about Kathy and the ashes to my other aunts. In an unexpected turn of events, 2 of my 3 other aunts knew about the situation. Things went ballistic. My mother was reasonably upset, told them how morally fucked up they all were, and left it at that. I sent a message to Kathy that basically said, I don't know what to say. I trusted you. Good luck getting places by fucking over people who love you. Blocked her and put it away. My other aunts have reached out and I've decided to put my relationship with them on the back burner for now. I thought things were all said and done, until today, when Kathy sent the following message to my mother. This will be the last thing and I will leave you alone. Please know that I'm sorry you were hurt. I thought we had already begun our healing process and I was caught off guard by your note. Please, I beg you to be careful about allowing OP to spew poison into our relationship. She convinced me to hate OP's sister before she came down to visit. She filled my head with constant meddling and exaggerated comments. I didn't realize it until OP left and her tricks faded away. OP once told me in the midst of a lie I caught her in, wow, my mum usually falls for it, but you can see right through me. This comment keeps playing in my head and is even louder now. I do not mean to cause a divide between you two, but please be aware she is a loaded gun and is running the show. OP is raged with jealousy and has your complete and undivided attention. You both have every right to be angry, but the truth is being twisted by OP. I really want to work on our relationship. I get it if you need space, but please fact check your daughter and don't reward this self-destructing behavior. I tried to have a relationship with her when Aunt 1 was here, but she wouldn't have it. She knew exactly what she was doing and created the awkwardness. I would never keep her from Aunt 1. She intentionally did this and had you believe it. I will give you space now, but your child is dangerous and you are enabling and empowering her worst trait. I love you, OP's mum, and will never be mad at you. She also messaged my sister saying how I allegedly hate her and shit talk her frequently. I don't even know what to say about this message. First and foremost, I feel like she's 100% trying to change the subject from her ash thievery. Secondly, she is trying to drive a wedge between me and my immediate family because she destroyed her own sister relationships through her reckless actions. Half of the things in the message aren't even true, and everyone I've shown it to has laughed at how ridiculous she sounds. I'm blessed enough to have a strong bond with my mum and sister, so they fired some shots back in my defense without me even knowing. My family is so fucked up, man. And a lot of the comments on the update are still saying, go to the police, get a lawyer because that is a felony in some states about stealing the ashes. A few people actually relating to the story and saying how messed up their family is and their family would do something similar, and like I said, relating to it, which is mad, isn't it? Well, I guess it's not crazy because we've seen it many times before. I mean, it's just sad, really. It does make me sort of step back and think of family dramas I've had in the past and just think, I've had it easy. And another thing I find really, really sad about it is, for me anyway, I look at my family as a support system and me supporting them when we can, of course. Someone to lean on and to talk to if you're going through a troubled time. And I absolutely know that's not the case for everyone. Like OP right here. They don't have that. They can't go to their aunt and talk about their issues because they're fucked up. So I will say I'm extremely sorry that you're going through that, OP. That sounds fucking awful, to be quite honest. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, as always, is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for what you do. Absolutely amazing. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that